To the last of the steps today before we go to talking about other matters. Supporting state governments. The support which is already extended to the state governments in the recent past in the context of the COVID lockdown. We completely recognize that, like the center, states are also facing a sharp decline in their revenues. Despite all this, we have consistently extended the support which is needed to be extended to the states, particularly because they are at the front end of fighting the COVID pandemic. Taxation devolution, if everything had been normal, as per the budget estimates, what had to be devolved to the states, we have devolved. 46,038 crores was devolved in April, which is based on the calculation provided in the budget, based on the BE, and that devolution happened as though everything is normal, as was presented in the budget. But of course, after budget, things did change because of the pandemic. But 46,038 crores has been devolved based on the budgetary estimates. Next, revenue deficit grants to the states, 12,390 crores, was given on time. We have not, because our revenues or, there are difficulties, we have not held back. And it's our duty. I'm not saying I've done a favor. It's our duty. We have given it. Revenue deficit grants to the states of 12,390 crores was given on time in April and May, despite centers' stressed resources. What normally gets devolved over a couple of months, the SDRF, State Disaster Relief Fund, in advance was released, keeping in mind that there is a pandemic which the states are fighting, and this release happened even in the first week of April. First week of April, which is the beginning of the financial year, 11,092 crores was released, which is the SDRF fund, which normally would have got released as and when there is a situation. Health Ministry has separately from its side released 4,113 crores so that anti-COVID activities can be funded. So that's also happened. And on center's request, and I say this way because together with the secretaries, we had a video conference with the RBI, and during that RBI video conference, we had requested the RBI, which of course is their business and their terrain, but we did request, and I'm grateful that the governor and his team of officers had very readily agreed the ways and means advance limits to states has increased by 60%. Oh, increased to? By 60%. So RBI, I'm happy to say RBI in a very timely step has increased ways and means advance limits for the states by 60%. RBI also increased the number of days states can be in continuous overdraft position from 14 days, which is normal, to 21 days. So the continuous overdraft they can remain now, not just for a fortnight, but 3 weeks. Also the number of days, the overdraft facility that they can have, number of days that a state can be in an overdraft situation in a quarter has been raised from 32 to 50 days. So nearly more than half the time, even if you're in overdraft position, Reserve Bank is okay with it. So these things had happened, and I wanted to say this is the support which we've already, because we understand states are the ones who are fighting at the forefront in containing COVID. We have not in any way hesitated to do what we are expected to do, although even we are under stress. We move to the next. Continuing with the supporting state governments. States have a net borrowing ceiling which is about 6.41 lakh crores based on a 3% of GSDP. They can borrow up to 3% of their state's gross domestic product. 75% of was authorized already by us. You can go ahead borrowing that 3% amount. Today, I'm just stating a matter of fact. States have only so far borrowed only 14% of that limit which is authorized for them. They can always in the first half of the year borrow 50%. But we said you go ahead borrowing further for the first half, 75% also you borrow right at the beginning. But I'm just stating a matter of fact position that states have so far borrowed only 14% of the limit which is authorized to them. 86% of the authorized borrowing limits remain unutilized as of now. Nevertheless, because chief ministers have written to the Prime Minister, finance ministers have written to me saying, please increase our borrowing limit. It is now 3% of your state's GSDP. We have now agreed to increase this to 5%. Because it's an unprecedented situation, we have acceded to the demand of the states and increased their borrowing ceiling from 3 to 5%. This will give an extra 4.28 lakh crores to the states. 86% is remaining, although it is authorized, it is remaining unutilized. Only 14% has been utilized by the states. They have requested us for increasing the cap for borrowing from 3%. So we've agreed to increasing the borrowing limit to 5%. So an additional 4.28 lakh crores will be available as extra resources for the states.
हाल ही में राज्य और केंद्र की